Hi, this is Fink, and you're watching Toasted.
Hey Fink, welcome back.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Yeah, you've been here a couple of times.
Yeah, we played here. We played here a few years ago, and it was a magical experience. So it's
be
great
you.
to be back.
Yeah, it must be a weird experience to be in a place like this, right? I mean, you enter, it's already magical. We don't lower our voice.
Yeah, we're all kind of quite respectful.
Yeah.
It's a bit like The Shining. It's a really beautiful place. So yeah, you do bring a different thing to the table for sure. But yeah, last time was such a big gig that tonight I think we're actually looking forward to just enjoying a show.
Because what are you going to play here? Are you going to play the Horizontalism or the Hard Believer tour, or a combination?
We'll play a track or two from Horizontalism and a load of stuff from Hard Believer and Perfect Darkness Records, I think, probably tonight. And got a few little surprises, little additional things happening on the show. Bit of a choir, a bit of a string section. So it's going to be a one-off kind of gig, you know. So yeah, it should be fun.
This is a small tour you're doing right now, or?
Yeah, 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Really fun.
Yeah, that's kind of small.
Hey, I want to talk to you about Horizontalism a little. There was a lot of discussions going out when you published it. Like, well, this is a really quick follow-up.
Well, it's more like a remix album than a follow-up record. It's got a couple of new songs on it, but I wanted to do a remix album, but I didn't want to get other people to do it. So over the winter in Berlin last winter, I just kind of did all the mixes myself and had a kind of very inspired by Berlin and the cold and the industrial kind of landscapes and the place I was at the time. And so, yeah, it's more like supposed to kind of go with Hard Believer. It's not like it wasn't intended to be like a new record. But, yeah, because there's not much singing on it. Yeah, a few people have
We're kind of shocked.
yeah, maybe misunderstood it as a new Fink record and Fink was going to stop singing now. But it was more, they're all remixes from the Hard Believer album.
It's hard to see, or it's strange to see that first, of course, you were a DJ, then you were renowned for making electronic music, then you change your career, you change your music style to singer-songwriting, and now you touch upon electric music again, and people apparently get lost.
Well, what was really annoying is all my trendy friends like this new Horizontal album more than all my others, and the Horizontal album took a couple of months, and I did it in my flat, and all the others take years and cost a fortune and all that kind of stuff. But I basically approached the record by just muting my bits. I muted my voice and guitars and started there. And I was really inspired by Mad Professor and his work with Massive Attack on No Protection album and all the ambient stuff from the 90s that I used to be into when I was almost before I was a DJ.
Like what, like Atekra or?
Like KLF and The Orb and Malcolm McLaren's Duck Rock, which I think is amazing, and going back into those old, the ambient sound. But because I was in Berlin and it was cold and wintry, and it's got a very cold industrial vibe on it. But
And some deep lyrics and heavy text. Suffering is the art of
Yeah,
love.
yeah,
I mean, I thought, like, where did you get that from? Schopenhauer.
yeah, I put 2 original songs on it because I did a few songs in 2014 for, one was for a charity project and one was for like a kind of one of those things where one of these corporate websites says, if you give us a bonus track, we'll give you extra love. So, but they were just for specific territories, and the downside was that the song Fall Into the Light, I actually really loved it, and so I was a bit pissed off that it was just going to sit on this corporate site. So yeah, we did the deal so I could get it back. And Suffering is the Art of Love was the song I did for my good friend Eric Corton, Dutch guy, because he did this thing for the Red Cross, and he wanted tracks from his mates, and so I boshed that one out 1 week, and again it was surprisingly good. So I sort of said, can I use it for my album like a year later, and he said yes, which was great. So
That's cool. You work with a lot of Dutch people, right?
well, Eric.
Well, you.
Oh, me? Yeah, sure. Yeah, our sound guy's a Dutch guy, Rob, and a legendary front of house guy, and Ruben Hein, our keyboard player. He's kind of famous here. Everybody knows Ruben Hein.
Yeah.
we walk in this place and it's like, hey Ruben, how you doing? And yeah, Ruben, and our merch girl Freddie's Dutch too. So yeah, we've been gigging in Holland since the first record. So we did, I think Bitterzoot was our first gig here, and
that you remember all that shit, man.
yeah, because the early gigs are really kind of like, Bitterzoot was the first gig that we felt famous for the first time, because the backstage was on the other side of the venue, so you had to walk through the venue to get to the stage, and it was full, and we felt, you know, I think it was the first time I got recognised in the street or something like that. So I remember Bitterzoot very well. Also, weirdly enough, the sound guy, Holland's so small, it's amazing, but the sound guy from Bitterzoot ended up producing some of our demos for Hard Believer. He's called Casper. He's got this really great studio in the north called Electric Monkey.
Cool.
And which he, in true Dutch style, he built himself with his own hands. And
So what is it with you and the Dutch?
well, it's close. It's quite near to home. Everybody speaks English, so you get the best of both worlds. You get somewhere that isn't England, but you can make friends. It's like India, where everybody speaks English too. So
Without the diseases.
it depends where you go, I guess. But India's great too because everybody speaks English. You can make friends over there. Sometimes when you go to these countries where the English isn't so, you know, second language, you meet a lot of people, but you don't really make like friends. But we've been making friends in Holland since day one. And our photographer who did all the artwork for Fall Into the Light and Horizontalism and the Concertgebouw album and the live album, Brahms, he's a Dutch guy too. So we've just always had a lovely connection. I've been coming here since I was 18 and I just love the place.
Well, we're glad you're here. Hey, I had a discussion with a guy from the BMI from Holland, Bima Stemra, and he was kind of in charge of classical music for young people. And he said, you know what, of course classical music is always popular with young people, but what a lot of people forget is that there isn't a lot of new classical music written by young people.
Yeah, well, most of the new classical, I'm not an expert, but a lot of modern classical that we heard when we did this concert here, we did a lot of modern classical as part of the gig, and a lot of it's very conceptual. And there's seems to be a massive chasm between, you know, Four Seasons and abstract sound design. Yeah. And we had this one piece in our classical gig here where it was, if you just put a 4/4 kick underneath the whole piece, then young people would listen to it like Square Pusher or something. It was really avant-garde and crazy noises, and all we need is like a beat just so that we know what's happening. But to me, we were completely not allowed to change it. That would be rewriting the composition. We'd have to pay like 50,000 euros and send a check to some castle in Bavaria or something, and it's very they're very precious over what they do, the classical scene.
But it is weird that there isn't a young Mozart right now, right? I mean,
Well, maybe there is. I mean, my father's here tonight, and he's tried to get into the Van Gogh Museum, and he said there's a queue around the corner, and it's very plush, and he's like, Van Gogh, you know, was very poor and very, you know, rough, and maybe there is a Mozart who's around right now, but
probably a DJ.
He'll die penniless, and we'll discover his work, you know, in 50 years. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could. Some of the modern composers like Aphex Twin or Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead, or the great thing about classical music is there's no age limit. So some of the people that we know now as like artists, hey, in 30 years they might spend 10 years getting into classical music and do that thing, you know. You just never know. That's the great thing about classical music. These classical musicians, their career is a lifetime, you know.
Did you ever write a classical piece, like full on for an orchestra?
I'd really, really, really love to, but one of the reasons I haven't done any soundtracks yet is we're kind of waiting for me to be like ready for it, because it's much more difficult than it looks.
Well, your music appeared in a movie before, so.
Yeah, I've been lucky to have a few movies, but what we saw when we played here with the symphony orchestra, and we worked very closely with a good friend of mine, Jules Buckley, who's like a arranger, and he's kind of the guy who's in between the orchestra and the band, who can speak both languages. And which is essential because us in Fink, none of us can even read music. So we're on the stage with 100 musicians who don't improvise. So you need a lot of communication. And seeing what he did with our songs showed us that with one of our songs, which is basically 4 chords, this is what you can do with it. And it taught us an awful lot.
So how do you write music actually? Is it that, like, you hear sounds and you try to recreate them, or because you don't write it,
Yeah, you
start jamming?
just jam it out. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people who don't make music think that all musicians have the entire composition already up here, and then that's their genius, and then they just put it down. And I don't think any musician in the modern age is like that. We just jam it out. Sometimes you've got a song in your head or a bit of a song in your head, and you try and get that out. But most of the time, you're jamming around and finding vibes and lyrics that fit ambiences and riffs that evoke a certain emotion, and a lyric over here that fits that emotion. And yeah, most of the time it's just trial and error, as we would say.
Are you working on new material? Writing this
Yeah. I'm in the middle of a blues album at the moment. After this tour, I go back to that. January, February, March.
So this is going to be Fink playing the blues.
Probably not a Fink record. Probably some other project name. Got some guests on it. It's all very blues.
Elaborate on it, please. Come on.
And I can't. It's so young. It's like describing a child before they're born. You know, you can't really.
Well, you would start with making love probably, but.
Well, yeah. Well, then, that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, let's stay. Let's go. Let's don't go there.
I'm having sex with my own projects at the moment, and then.
Will you appear in that as a band as well? I mean, this is your band playing blues. I mean, it revolves around you, or?
It's at the moment it's all very me this blues thing, but we'll see if the boys want to get on it. And then April I'm gonna take off and go somewhere interesting, and then
Is it a holiday or work trip or inspiration?
like a working holiday really. We've got plans to, me and my partner, we want to go to Africa and just hang out, go somewhere different.
Whereabouts?
Senegal.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, we can't go to Mali, it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
So I love the music of West Africa, so we're thinking of hiring a house in Senegal for a month, and then maybe we got some friends in Mozambique at the moment, and maybe going up to Tanzania, because I love the music from there as well.
That's quite a trip, because that's like 5,000 kilometers apart, probably.
I got a lot of air miles, you know. I've got a lot of air miles to spend, and you know.
But Africa is I lived in Africa for a year, and the music is intense, and people are so into music that it will probably totally change your perspective on music, right? And especially for beats.
Well, the rhythms are just crazy. They're so difficult for us to understand. You just have to kind of just roll with it, and just everything, just something different. You know, when you tour Europe and tour America a lot, that's Europe and America out off your holiday list in a way. So. And we tour India and China and Australia, so in a way it's kind of like, right, where can we go that I'm not going to tour? And South America and Africa are the two places. So we did South America a few years ago. That was crazy, music everywhere. Mexico City, there was just music on every street corner. And Africa, just because it's a big place and you can fly there, it just sounds kind of scary in a way. But I mean, I've done North Africa, I've done South Africa, so let's do the real Africa, you know. So yeah, we'll do that for a month, and then the next Fink album, hopefully, if it feels good, we want to go DIY, get back to basics.
What does that mean? You're dropping the label, or?
No, just not going to do the whole Hollywood thing, which we did on the last couple of records.
Which means promo, getting over, doing tours, or?
It means fancy studios and producers and that kind of thing, which was awesome and really great, and we're really glad we did it. But I think we all want to just like maybe recreate, but with a bigger budget, like what it was like in the early days to record it ourselves and produce it ourselves. And I mean, it sounds like a classic rock and roll mistake for sure, but I think we'd like to. Well, you know, while we can now, we can actually. I think we're allowed one mistake. So
a classic rock and roll mistake would be like to create a 4 triple double LP in gold printed with pop-up animals and Pop-Tarts coming out of it, probably.
I suppose the less money you spend on recording it, the more money you can spend on packaging, right? So maybe we'll do that. But yeah, we've been very inspired by the last 2 records, and the tours. I mean, it's been really stressful and really grown-up problems, and it's been a lot of touring, but I think we've been really inspired musically by the fact that we've been to so many places and done so many gigs, and the venues are getting bigger. But every time we get the opportunity to play a big venue, we use the profit to go somewhere crazy to open up a new place. So we used a lot of the profit from the Perfect Darkness tour to open up Poland and Scandinavia, and we're using all the profit from this tour to open up the East. And on this run, we're doing Lithuania and Belarus and Ukraine. And
so if you tour the whole world, you're probably going to finally get some profit for yourself, right?
Well, it's all good. There's money out there, but we learned that if you our agent was saying to us, dude, you got to play Poland, and we were like, dude, we've sold like 8 records over there, according to our books. There's nobody there who likes our music. And then we get out there, and then people just don't buy CDs out there. They bootleg the CDs, but they buy the ticket. So we were selling out 2,000 capacity venues in Poland, even though on paper we'd sold literally 10 copies. So then we went to Turkey, and then we went to Greece, and same thing. So and then we went to Romania, and then we went to Serbia and places like this. And
so this is definitely the end of the CD, then, right? Come on.
No, just there, because in Belgium.
Just there, you're talking about 40 million people in total, probably.
Yeah, but the difference is that in the Ukraine, a CD would cost the equivalent to you and me of like €100. Yeah. So you're not going to buy the CD, but the ticket to the gig will cost like €20. So you go to the gig, and we haven't got a problem with people, buying tickets to our concerts. We don't care how they bought the ticket. Yeah. And we love streaming. The streaming thing is fantastic for us, and Spotify and SoundCloud and these sites, they've actually moved the needle for us in a way that, because we're not on a major, and we don't get the major leverage or the major mind games. Actually, the streaming sites, it's a way for independent bands to bypass all that stuff, radio playlists and stuff like that, and we think it's great. And so as streaming gets out there, you get to tour India, you get to tour Indonesia, you get to tour the East, because
the touring was pretty stressful. You told me, right?
Sure,
especially
man.
if you go there.
Sure. Borders are getting stressful these days.
Shit, yeah.
And
how does it reflect on the band? Because being together like for 24 hours in steaming hot places like New Delhi and all the shares of playing.
That's kind of really cool. Because
no argument.
Because you get the odd glamour gig in the mix, like this one, or we did London last week. We got Berlin this weekend, so we punctuate the tough gigs with ones that we like, and because we've been the same band since Bitterzoot in 2006, it's really nice to go back to sometimes in brand new places, to go, like when we play in Vilnius. I have no idea what that's going to be like, but it's going to be like the old days, probably. Squeezing onto a little stage. It's not luxurious. There's one room backstage for all 12 of us, and it'll kind of be like, but now we're quite good. So it's like we're going back to these old venues, and we're not scared, and we're not nervous or anything. We're just like, we're gonna smack this one tonight, So it's kind of like, we love the rough gigs because we're actually quite a good band now. And in the early days where you do all those rough gigs, you're not a good band yet. You're still learning how to do it. So it's kind of nice to go back to basics. And
you mentioned we got to wrap this up, because I think your press officer already walked in 3 times. We only had 10 minutes. We're half an hour late. So are you working on new Fink material as well?
Yeah, always. Yeah, life is material. Always working on new stuff, new riffs. I've just finished my studio in Berlin, so I'm in there when I'm not on the bus. I'm in the studio just tinkering about and getting it ready and finding new stuff to think about and talk about. Yeah.
So now the fans want to know when the album will be released.
When it's done, when it's finished, when it's good.
Next year?
Nah,
Come on.
doubt it.
Really?
2017, I think, probably. Early. Yeah, because, you know, I don't want to rush the next one.
You rushed this one. This one came pretty. It was pretty well.
Yeah, Horizontalism, though, was like a remix album, so all the work was done already. All the tracks were written, all the parts were there. I just had to, you know, get into it. But Hard Believer took a year. Perfect Darkness took a year. And even that's a bit of a rush. So, because the weeks, they go by. I mean, they just go.
What happens when you're having fun?
Yeah, they just the studio time is like goes by at 5 times the speed, and yeah, it's this one. We've promised our manager, and we've promised the label that we're gonna like we're not gonna rush it. We're not under the same pressures we were under when we did Perfect Darkness in 2011, which was shit, man. Our rent's due, and we're all gonna get, you know, our wives are gonna divorce us all unless we get some money. And so that means occasionally there's a couple of tracks on an album that I wouldn't put on the album now.
Were there actually moments ever when you thought like, okay, I really do need to get some money. I might have a better plan, or stop making music.
Yeah, all of us, all the time. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but it depends what you need.
But what makes you keep going?
Well, I actually personally I function really well thinking that I'm really broke. It really works. So I'm completely firewalled from all my accounts, and I don't know how much money I've got or haven't got. I just always presume I've got nothing, and it keeps me motivated. And I've, because we're fans of music of the past, we've studied just as normal fans that all the bands we love, and it seems that they're always ruined by money, apart from Radiohead, which just seems to get better and better and better. But yeah, they always seem to be ruined by having loads of money in the bank. So, yeah, I think one of the reasons we're still hungry and we're still going is that it's not about the money. But when life does knock on the door and say, by the way, it is about the money. Now you need, you know, 3,000 euros for your rent or whatever it is, then you just gotta, I don't know, work it out. But we've all had moments, you know, because it's as we say, it's drought and flood in what we do. We get paid every 6 months, or you get paid when you sign a deal, or you get paid at the end of a tour or whatever. But sometimes there's a cash flow problem. If you're on tour for 3 months and you get paid 3 months after the tour, you gotta sub your life for 6 months. So you need 6 months up front, and sometimes it can just get a bit tense in the mix. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys are still there. Thanks so much for your time.